almost every day things of that nature happen. He was such a transcendentalist. Well, I'm in a query whether to have Srimad Bhagavatam class or to read from this Srila Prabhupada Limamrita book. And what normally takes place on Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja Day is, his appearance day, is, same thing. Devotees read their offerings to Srila Prabhupada. But probably that'll happen afternoon or else 4 o'clock or 7 o'clock this evening. But because I will not be able to go there, I might just like to offer my feelings about Srila Prabhupada this time. I've come to realize that if it wasn't for Srila Prabhupada, at the age of 69, coming to the United States to bring these teachings, I would have little ability to have any contact whatsoever with the bona fide authorized. I was looking for whoever could show me something better than what I had found in Christianity. And, Srila Prabhupada's so unique, his presentation, as compared to every other presentation that had been made by yogis, so-called yogis, usually the bogey yogis from India. And to explain it in such perfect language. The scriptures even comment that because Srila Prabhupada's first language wasn't English, there's comment made in there that even though it wasn't made with the perfect use of the language, something to that extent, it had the power of Krishna. Krishna empowered the words of the Bhagavatam from Srila Prabhupada. But because of that, a lot of devotees wanted to make it more scholarly to be accepted by colleges, which is why Jayadvaita Swami made some changes, and then it was highly regarded as bogus and by some devotees. But my guru also wrote a book revealing how Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers treated him, and that he didn't get much help at all. The Agrawals sponsored him here to get here, but then when he requested help, he needed mridanga, he needed, harmonium possibly, whatever they could send him. They weren't even willing to send him basic things that would be needed to establish temples. And they were thinking that the Malechas that Srila Prabhupada was converting because of their low stature, that they're just easy to deal with. They're low lives. But see, in effect, Srila Prabhupada proved the potency of Krishna's holy names to take these very fallen souls that were, in fact, breaking all the regulative principles and create from them saintly souls that don't break any of the regulative principles, and gave them a life process by which they could, because of his own experience in the process, by which they could keep the regulative principle. This is a foreword of the book. This is Planting the Seed, Srila Prabhupada Limamrita, Volume 2, by His Holiness Satguru Goswami Maharaj. The story you're about to read is, like many true stories, highly improbable. An elderly Indian Swami comes to New York City in the mid-1960s on a vaguely defined mission. Charged by his teacher in India to bring his spiritual message to the West, He arrives in New York with no prior knowledge of America, no base of support, almost no money. He'd actually just given his son half of what he was coming here with, which was less than $10, I believe. He moves about the city somewhat aimlessly, lives for a while in an artist's loft in the Bowery, and finally, with help from a few early followers, rents a storefront building in the area known as East Village. That was Mukunda Maharaj at the time Mukunda Maharaj came in and Sethrup Maharaj. The heart of the 1960s drug and counterculture movement. There, he begins to preach an unlikely message of sexual restraint, abstention from drugs, and purity of mind and body, and in behalf of devotion to the Hindu god Krishna. What follows is a remarkable tale of faith, determination, and success beyond anyone's expectation. The present volume gives only the beginning of the story, but it tells us in fascinating detail how the first seeds of success were planted in what seemed such unpromising ground. It is a very human story with a very human A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami at the center. I'm going to move on. We go through quite a bit here. After the disappearance of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada from this mortal world on November 14th, 1977, which is coming up, many of his disciples saw a need for an authorized biography of Srila Prabhupada. The responsibility of commissioning such a work rested with the governing body commission of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And their annual meeting in 1978, the GBC resolved that a biography of Srila Prabhupada should be written, and that I, speaking of Srila Maharaj, would be the author. According to the Vaishnava tradition, if one aspires to write transcendental literature, he must first take permission from his spiritual master and Krishna. A good example of this is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's authorized biography, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. As Krishnadas Kaviraj has explained, in Vrindavan, there were also many other great devotees, all of whom desired to hear the last pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. By their mercy, all these devotees ordered me to write of the last pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because of their order only, although I am shameless, I have attempted to write this Chaitanya Charitamrita. Having received the order of the Vaishnavas, but being anxious within my heart, I went back to the temple of Madan Mohan in Vrindavan to ask his permission also. So he's revealing here how he's following the line. As the present volume begins, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, age 69, is traveling aboard a steamship from Calcutta to New York. He carries with him the Indian equivalent of $8. He has no institutional backing, and no support awaits him. He is coming on the order of his spiritual master to teach Krishna consciousness to the English-speaking world. Planting the seed is the story of Srila Prabhupada's first year in America. It is the story of how an individual will, patiently persisting, overcame great obstacles, and it is the story of a time, the 60s, when American youth underwent a revolution in consciousness. Planting the seed tells how Srila Prabhupada carried the all but forgotten spiritual culture of Vedic India to New York's Lower East Side and planted it there in the heart of America's cultural turmoil of 1966. This is written from Srila Prabhupada's diary, The Journey to America. Today, the ship is plying very smoothly. I feel today better, but I am feeling separation from Sri Vrindavan. and my Lord, Sri Govinda Gopinath Radha Damodar. My only solace is Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, in which I am tasting the nectarine of Lord Sri Chaitanya's Leela. I have left Bharata Bhumi just to execute the order of Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in pursuance of Lord Chaitanya's order. I have no qualification, but have taken up the risk just to carry out the order of His divine grace. I depend fully on their mercy, so far away from Vrindavan. That was written in September 10th, 1965. The Jaladuta is a regular cargo carrier of the Scindia Steam Navigation Company, but there's a passenger cabin aboard. During the voyage from Calcutta to New York in August and September of 1965, the cabin was occupied by Sri Abhay Charanadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami, whose age was listed as 69 and who was taken on board bearing a, quote, complimentary ticket with food. The Jaladuta, under the command of Captain Arun Pandya, whose wife was also aboard, left at 9 a.m. on Friday, August 13th. Friday the 13th. In his diary, Srila Prabhupada noted, the cabin is quite comfortable. Thanks to Lord Sri Krishna for enlightening Srimati Murariji for all these arrangements. I'm quite comfortable. But on the 14th, he reported seasickness, dizziness, vomiting, Bay of Bengal, heavy rains, more sickness. On the 19th, when the ship arrived at Colombo, Ceylon, now Sri Lanka, Prabhupada was able to get relief from his seasickness. The captain took him ashore and he traveled around Colombo by car. During the voyage, Srila Prabhupada sometimes stood on deck at the ship's rail, watching the ocean and the sky and thinking of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Vrindavan Dham, and the order of a spiritual master to go preach in the West. Mrs. Pandya, the captain's wife, whom Srila Prabhupada considered to be, quote, an intelligent and learned lady, foretold Srila Prabhupada's future. If he were to pass beyond this crisis in his health, she said, it would indicate the goodwill of Lord Krishna.
How long did he came when he was 67? 69, and he stayed around until
77.
Until 77. So 65 to 66 to 77. 11 years.
12, yeah. This poem was a prayer to Lord Krishna, and it is filled with Prabhupada's devotional confidence in the mission that he had undertaken on behalf of his spiritual master. An English translation of the opening stanza follows. This is a quote from that poem. I emphatically say to you, O brothers, you will obtain your good fortune from the Supreme Lord Krishna only when Srimati Radharani becomes pleased with you. Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is very dear to Lord Gauranga, Lord Chaitanya, the son of Mother Sachi, is unparalleled in his service to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. He is that great saintly spiritual master who bestows intense devotion to Krishna at different places throughout the world. By his strong desire, the holy name of Lord Gauranga will spread throughout all the countries of the Western world, in all the cities, towns, and villages on the earth, from all the oceans, seas, rivers, and streams. Everyone will chant the holy name of Krishna. As the vast mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu conquers all directions, a flood of transcendental ecstasy will certainly cover the land. When all the sinful, miserable living entities become happy, Vaishnava's desire is then fulfilled. Although my Guru Maharaj ordered me to accomplish this mission, I am not worthy or fit to do it. I'm very fallen and insignificant. Therefore, O Lord, now I am begging for your mercy, so that I may become worthy, for you are the wisest and most experienced of all. Wow. The poem ends. Today that remembrance of you came to me in a very nice way, because I have a great longing. I called to you. I am your eternal servant, and therefore I desire your association so much, O Lord Krishna. Except for you, there is no means of success. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. In the same straightforward and factual manner in which he had noted the date, the weather, and his state of health, he now described his helpless dependence on his, quote, companion, Lord Krishna, and his absorption in the ecstasy of separation from Krishna. He described the relationship between the spiritual master and the disciple, and he praised his own spiritual master, Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, quote, by whose strong desire the holy name of Lord Gauranga will spread throughout all the countries of the Western world, end quote. He plainly stated that his spiritual master had ordered him to accomplish this mission of worldwide Krishna consciousness, and feeling unworthy, he prayed to Lord Krishna for strength. The last verses give an unexpected, confidential glimpse into Srila Prabhupada's direct relationship with Lord Krishna. Prabhupada called on Krishna as his, quote, dear friend, and longed for the joy of again wandering the fields of Braja. This memory of Krishna, he wrote, came because of a great desire to serve the Lord. Externally, Srila Prabhupada was experiencing great inconvenience. He'd been aboard a ship for a month and had suffered heart attacks and repeated seasickness. Moreover, even if he were to recover from these difficulties, his arrival in America would undoubtedly bring many more difficulties. But remembering the desire of his spiritual master, taking strength from his reading of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and revealing his mind in his prayer to Lord Krishna, Prabhupada remained confident. See, this is really a good example to us. Because, of course, Srila Prabhupada didn't start his devotional life at this age. But you can say, for the most part, the real strong outreach of his mission, of his life, began when he came to this country. The fulfilling of his guru's instructions. And that's what was the empowerment. And that's what he's saying was the empowerment here. And so that's the same thing for us. Regardless of the circumstance we consider ourselves to be in right now, Srila Prabhupada reveals to us at this advanced an age, if he could do that, we also are still at a stage in life in which Krishna can do anything through us. He can have you go talk to the president. He can have you go talk. I just saw yesterday, we're talking about Narayana Kavacha and its application in this age. Jai Shri Jai Narendra Modi, the president of India, he just authorized the building of what he's calling Sudarshan Chakra. It's a military defense that will prevent any bombs from being able to make it into India's land. Amazing. So see, he is being empowered as well, because when you see a leader that gives the advice to the families of his subjects to have cows as pets, and to take them into their homes and let them be comfortable with the children.
Sweet.
This was his, President of India, Modi. This was his advice to his subjects. So this man now that is currently in the position of President of India, he's taking a very spiritual approach to his position. And he's uniting the European forces as well. Now, to some extent, he's uniting them to negotiate with the United States because Trump is forcing this tariff, on all of them. But that is taking place because we have had these tariffs forced on us by all these other countries for all these years and never recompensed for it.
Okay.
So there's negotiation that will be going on there. And this unifying force. Now, I am wondering, maybe you know, Prabhu, what the relationship between India and Israel is.
Israel, yes.
Is good?
Yes.
Yes, very good.
Both are sovereign countries on this episode.
So,
Friendly nations.
see, this could be the move of the spiritual time that's coming for there to be an emperor in the world. And that will be at the junction of the planets turning into a heavenly planet. That's going to be the effect. That's why this is being made such a big deal of. Srila Prabhupada had the vision that Krishna gave him to see. It says here, everybody in the world says, chanting Krishna's names. Everybody in the world, it says. And so to get to that stage, Srila Prabhupada said it would take 10%. Once we get to 10% of the population of the world, it will be strong enough to carry us through to the 100%. But we're still in that process. But see, what will bring that about is this chanting in the city streets. That's really the most powerful force, because the books lead us to the conclusion that that is the life. Singing and dancing. That's the eternal, happy, rigorous, enjoyable, exciting, recreation, fulfilling, whatever you want to call it, glorifying God experience that is being longed for in our heart of hearts, the experience, which we get a taste of like last night with all the chanting going on. Devotees get to taste what it's like to be immersed and bathed in Krishna's name. Your ears just constantly hearing that solid flow and melody of the eternal sound vibration created by loving souls, souls that are creating the sound because they love Krishna. Not because they want to become famous, not because somebody's paying them to do that, but because they love Krishna.
Yeah, Prabhupada.
That's the force. That's the force that's going to make this happen. Everyone in the world eventually will be chanting Hare Krishna. So people, see, these books too give us a means. When we read these things and they seem so phantasmagorical, I can't find another word that better suits it. And we're discussing with devotees, and it's no, that can't be said in there. Not everybody's going to. We have the books that are proof that the statement is being made by the most saintly there is.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen.
Master.
And see, we are getting to a point. They only have to say Krishna once to be on the path, to be starting their devotional careers. That's why if you can get them to say Krishna once, you're starting them, you're planting the seed. Yeah, and that's what we are now doing. We are planting the seed, and the seed of Krishna's name, every time someone hearing it for the first time, it's just the same fresh seed that it was the first time you gave it to somebody else. The same fresh reality revealing. Let's see. Prabhupada briefly observed the city, but the most significant thing about his short stay in Boston, aside from the fact that he had now set foot in America, was that at Commonwealth Pier, he wrote another Bengali poem entitled, quote, Markin Bhagavat Dharma, which means teaching Krishna consciousness in America. Some of the verses he wrote on board the ship that day are as follows. My dear Lord Krishna, you are so kind upon this useless soul, but I do not know why you have brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me, but I guess you have some business here. Otherwise, why would you bring me to this terrible place? This terrible place. Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva Krishna. I do not know how they will be able to understand it, but I know that your causeless mercy can make everything possible, because you are the most expert mystic. How will they understand the mellows of devotional service? Oh Lord, I'm simply praying for your mercy so that I will be able to convince them about your message. All living entities have come under the control of the illusory energy by your will. And therefore, if you like, by your will they can also be released from the clutches of illusion. I wish that you may deliver them. Therefore, if you so desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message. How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I am very unfortunate, unqualified, and the most fallen. Therefore, I am seeking your benediction so that I can convince them, for I am powerless to do so on my own. Somehow or other, O Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or failure as you like. O spiritual master of all the worlds, I can simply repeat your message. So if you like, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding. Only by your causeless mercy will my words become pure. I'm sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they will certainly feel gladdened and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life. O Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance. Make me dance, O Lord. Make me dance as you like. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the Holy I have been designated as Bhaktivedanta, and now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhaktivedanta. Signed, the most unfortunate, insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, on board the ship Jaladuta Commonwealth Pier, Boston, Massachusetts, USA, dated 18th of September, 1965. What an amazing
Steel.
Yeah.
Steel.
Well, a revelation. He's praying for us. When you think about it, we are the people he's praying for, that there will be someone to take these teachings to heart. He's talking about now all the devotees that have now come since that prayer. Imagine how many millions have resulted in being touched, their lives being touched because of Srila Prabhupada's obedience to his guru. And without physical ability to do such a thing, as we see here, two heart attacks. Now who's going to undertake a world mission after two heart attack? And yet, he took it as the order of his spiritual master, irregardless. I haven't had one yet, and I can't go around the world anymore. I traveled as a younger person, but this kind of traveling is really distressful. You got to get all your stuff together, move here, plan for 2-3 weeks ahead in advance, know where you're going, what you're going to do. Oh, God, Then you got to cross the border, you got to meet the immigration people, you got to talk to them, give them your life history, and where you're going, and who you're going to talk to, and how many family, who gave you the drugs to put in your suitcase. It's crazy what people go through to be able to travel today. Because what? Sinful activity. Sinful activity is why we have insurance. Why we have insurance on our life. We have insurance on our death. We have insurance on our car. We have insurance on our house.
Everything.
We have insurance on our business.
Insurance
We have
on our
insurance
health.
on our children. We have insurance on the insurance man. It's crazy. They have insurance on insurance men to keep you from being befuddled by the insurance companies that are scammers. They have insurance for insurance. It's a crazy world we're living in. It's really a crazy world we're living in. But as crazy as we were, Srila Prabhupada came to straighten us out. One of my dad's old favorite sayings, straighten up and fly right. Krishna's mercy. Yeah. This is a day to remember the contribution Srila Prabhupada has given to the world. And still the world hasn't recognized to consider the value of his contribution worthy of a Pulitzer Prize or, a Peace Prize of sorts. And that's the way it is with saintly people. There are probably more unrecognized saints than there are recognized saints. Because they don't seek for fame, adoration, and distinction. The same way civilizations that had adopted ways of peaceful living had no defense against those that had, and their histories get wiped out. Then we have defense. And Srila Prabhupada was speaking of the food that we distribute as more powerful than atomic bombs. These are atomic bombs, he said, these blood bombs. In a sense, you can say Srila Prabhupada said that tongue-in-cheek, right? But when you look at what happens to the transformation of a person's life when they start taking prasadam only, they start thinking in a completely different way because of the effect prasadam has, being made with loving devotion.
Consciousness.
Yeah.
By devotees.
See, you can get a headache. You buy a meal on a train. By the time you get off the train, you got a headache, you have a stomach ache. These thoughts are going through your mind. You don't know where they come from. You think it's just the motion of the train. But what they cooked you, the cook had the same thing. He's given it to you. The consciousness, because of the fire, is there. The fire's in our body. The fire's in the preparation of the food, and it's the same fire. And so the fire transfers that. Just like when we have fire sacrifice, the sinful reactions when the rice is thrown in the fire, that is the sin. The sin that we're throwing into that fire. And it is the sin of the past even that's going in there. that would otherwise come and catch up with us now, because people that are in a sinful life, what they are experiencing now is do what they did last, and not necessarily what they did just 5 seconds ago. You're getting the result of sometimes lifetimes ago. And it is that initiation fire sacrifice that has the most power as far as wiping out those now, because you've come finally to the point of surrendering to Krishna. And so the biggest bulk of that's going to be taken by Krishna in the fire. But there are still residues. It's like Srila Prabhupada says, when the fan is going on, if you do unplug the fan, the blades still keep going for a while. Now, we don't want to keep plugging the fan in and out, which is taking prasadam, taking boga, taking prasadam, taking boga. So that's plugging the fan in, pulling the fan, and plug out, plugging the fan in, pulling the fan. Because it's karma. Now, we may not know the prayers. Prayers are easy to learn if you have to cook at home. The best food, as advised by the scriptures, is to only take prasadam. And the only way you can make that food into prasadam, which is a mystical, magical ability, the soul is given by Krishna simply by speaking words to Krishna that he has given us himself to speak. And then by that acceptance, then by the acceptance that you have of Krishna's invitation to do such a thing, he's accepting because he's the one that's given you the invitation. So, however you can at home, to have a book with a picture or something, and have a way of offering your food to Krishna. And the mantras are easy to know. I was going to ask, now that you are initiated, are you reciting your Guru's mantra when you come in? Is that what you recite? Yeah.
Think about him all the time.
That's what we should. Well, that's what we do. When you first approach the temple is approachable by your surrender to the Guru. And that's why we're offering respect in that regard. So the Guru gives us entrance. Same way when we chant Gayatri, we first recognize who is the controller of the entire universe. Then immediately following, we recognize that it is Guru that allows us entrance into that court. So this is also Krishna's court. And Guru allows us entrance into that court. So it would be very good, and it's a necessary part of our daily activities that when we do enter the temple, we recite our Guru's mantra, pranam mantras. Just like we find it regular that we're reciting Srila Prabhupada's mantra for whenever in the masses. So when a person first comes to Krishna consciousness, they use Srila Prabhupada's pranam mantras. But then when you get initiated, then you become your personal Guru's mantras, the connection you're making. See, in a sense, this is our argument with the Ritviks. They want to jump over, make Srila Prabhupada everybody's disciple. I mean, Srila Prabhupada is everybody's Guru.
Right.
But that's jumping over. And that's what Christians are doing with Christ. They're jumping directly. So there's no personal surrender. It's all concoction of the mind. And if I can surrender to Brahma, then I can say whatever I want. Brahma's telling me to do this, Brahma's telling me to do that, isn't it? But we have a living witness, a living master who's giving us advice, and has given us advice, and all it takes it. A lot of disciples of Srila Prabhupada never had personal darshan with Srila Prabhupada after they got initiated from Srila Prabhupada. But by carrying out his orders, he later made the statement that that relationship with him carrying out his orders from a distance is more pleasing to the spiritual master than somebody massaging his back, massaging his feet. Because the personal we get has, of course, aid to us personally, but that which the master gives us as orders to the disciple is for benefit for the whole world by being given directly by Krishna. So these statements being made by Bhagavatam, it's not our statements if we repeat them. And so our repeating them, or the fact that we are the ones repeating them, doesn't take it away from the truth or the validity of them. And they are universally applicable. I highly suspect when this golden age does fully blossom, that there will be an interaction with aliens, what we are believing to be aliens, who are actually from this planet, and who have in their libraries pastimes written in Sanskrit as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sanskrit libraries there. And then the fullness of Krishna consciousness can manifest in the earth so that the Bible prophecy says, and it will be fulfilled, that the earth, just like a mother is in travail waiting to give birth, the earth is waiting, like a mother waiting to give birth, for the sons and daughters of God to be made manifest in the earth. Now, at the time this was spoken, it wasn't to suggest that were not men and women following the teachings they knew there to be at the time. But, again, we get back to this statement made by Srila Prabhupada, everybody will be chanting Krishna's name. So everybody, that time is coming. And that will be the peak, you know. Knowledge of God will cover the earth like the waters cover the seas. The lion will lie down with the lamb, the young child shall lead them. The child will place his hand on the hole of a poisonous snake, and they will not harm nor destroy in all of my holy mountain. This is a quote said to be coming out of God's own mouth. I will make a new heaven and a new earth. And so this is what I conclude to be speaking of the golden age and the effects that Krishna's name will have on the population, the world population, that the animal kingdom will once again become friends with humanity at large. And humanity at large first has to become friends with itself. We got to be friends with human beings before the animals of a sensitive nature to thought consciousness of men. So if we're fighting against ourselves, how can we expect other species to look at us as peaceful beings?
Right.
Right?
They're actually scared of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're scaring them.
Yeah.
And their fear can drive us to do things as well. That's why Krishna gives us knowledge of how to be fearless. He doesn't want us to be fearful either. But revering the power of God, we revere and see the laws of God in all of nature. Mm-hmm. And so we learn how these things function and what effects it will have on us if we give ourselves over to the same laws that the animals are giving themselves over to. Wow. To be controlled. You see, it's quite a confounding concept that the term Nityabada and Nityamukta, eternally bound and eternally liberated. And that's what the condition is. Because the souls that are bound in the material energy, they have no means of getting out without Krishna interceding. So they are stuck there eternally without an intercessor. And then those that are in the spiritual world, they're there. Also, nitya, mukta, eternally liberated. So, but when they come by choice, and they come to give liberation as well, like we're wanting to give. Srila Prabhupada was such an example when you think about it, isn't it? And then, as far as I understand, right till the very last few days or months, even, he's going to the morning program every day. Such an advanced age. When asked, Srila Prabhupada, when we're sick, should we have an excuse not to come to the morning program? He said, if you're dying, if you're on your deathbed, then don't have to come to the morning program. So, see, all the time he was in Damodar temple as well. He's expressing in this prayer to Krishna. He had everything there he needed to go back to Godhead. He didn't need to come here to perform these activities as for some form of reward after this life. He has already gained samadhi, in other words. His samadhi was experienced and realized there in Vrindavan, serving their lordships there in Vrindavan.
But he jumped over the fence, though.
He jumped over the fence.
That's right.
And brought the cows with him.
And brought the cows with him.
And the holy milk, the sacred milk, the nectar of Krishna's teachings. This is all nectar of the soul. It's absorbing the milk of the words of Bhagavatam. It's the nectar of the religious. What cow stands for, religion. Yeah, it gives the pure milk. Uncontaminated. See, this is a realization I'm getting now just from that. They're mixing of the milk like this and contaminating it by thinking they're appealing it to the eyes. That's how their preaching becomes. They try to tickle the ears of people who are going to give them money by hearing favorable things. People like to hear glorification of themselves. If they own a company, they like to hear their company advertised, these kinds of things. And then they like to become famous, so they erect a building in their name that's dedicated to maybe a library of science of some sort, or like this. And then people who recognize that, who are in positions of pastorship, appealing to people of that nature, is just like a politician being won over by the love for money. He has to be free from the love for money to be able to make decisions regarding the activities of these people who own these professions. And the only way to remain free from that is to be aloof from their, what you can say, it's almost an investment they make. People are investing in politics. They're doing that because they want to get a return from it. They want people to vote. They want people to make laws in their direction. And so, without this aloofness, and now they're finding out, all these politicians, they get inside information, and then they go buy stocks accordingly. They get a $175,000 a year job, and they got $20 million in the bank.
Yeah.
So, and they do that using their position for other cause than what the position is meant for. And so the real work doesn't get done then. And then we have wars, rumors of wars, and sickness and disease, because they're not doing the job of curing disease. They're doing the job to get paid.
Yeah, from the insurance
for the fact that disease is there.
Yeah.
About that. The same way, those that are giving you traffic tickets, if you weren't speeding, that aspect of their job wouldn't be there if there were no speeders. So then, see, too, that works against itself as well, because they have sometimes what they call quotas.
Yeah.
when police officers don't turn in enough criminals, then they get what's called a quota. And you have to get so many tickets a week. If you don't meet your quota, you'd be looked at as falling short on the job. But that would mean that they're actually doing their job, because now everybody's abiding by the laws. So the system set up is somewhat self-destructive. People form ideas about why they're being disciplined, then it forms bitterness in their heart. Then they yell at the boss and they lose their job. So many things like that's going on, and people don't know why they're forced against their will in many cases. I better stop or I'll continue.
You can continue with contact.
What is it?
You can continue.
I can continue.
Yeah. It's austerity.
You're giving me permission to continue.
Prabhupada giving you permission.
Well, there are things that need to get done. Everybody's got schedules, I hope, I think, right? I do.
Because we do got to get the temple back to normal.
And for shot,
Or somewhat.
we're fasting
Somewhat
today, so we
normality.
do have extra time that we don't have to spend taking prasadam.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody have any thoughts about things they'd like to hear discussed at Bhagavatam class that doesn't get discussed? That would be a nice thing to talk about. No, we talk about it all, I guess, right?
Recently, I started watching YouTube series from Abhay Charan, series about Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah,
Very nice.
yep. They are. Those little red books, I think they're called Prabhupada Nectar books. They have some really sweet experiences devotees have had with Srila Prabhupada. In fact, I'm going to go see if I can order some of those, because I just looked at them and they haven't got those anymore. I used to have quite a few. I think there's about 20 of those, maybe more. You ever get cramping in your muscles?
Yeah.
I got that right now. By the way. There it goes. We do fasting, and it comes to 2, 3, 4,